Welcome to my channel. World Scene News. Subscribe to my channel for news updates all around the world. The summer of 2025 marked a dramatic turning point in California's ambitious quest to build America's first true high-speed rail line. For years, the state had poured billions into the project, envisioning sleek bullet trains racing from Los Angeles to San Francisco, transforming how Californians live, work, and travel. But as the days grew longer and the heat of summer settled over the Central Valley, a storm was brewing, one that would threaten to derail the entire vision. California's high-speed rail project, once hailed as a symbol of progress and innovation, now found itself at a crossroads. Construction sites that had buzzed with activity began to slow, and the sense of momentum that had carried the project for over a decade started to wane. On July 16th, President Trump took to the national stage and announced the immediate withdrawal of all federal funding, over $4 billion for the bullet train. The decision was swift, unexpected, and sent shockwaves through the state's political and economic landscape. Trump's administration argued that the project was plagued by delays, cost overruns, and mismanagement, and that federal dollars could no longer be justified. The Department of Transportation made it official the very next day, issuing a formal notice that pulled the financial lifeblood from the project. Overnight, the future of California's high-speed rail was thrown into chaos, with state officials scrambling to assess the damage and figure out what, if anything, could be salvaged. In late August, the blow was compounded when another $175 million in federal grants was canceled, further tightening the financial noose. The cumulative loss of $175 billion was not just a setback, it was a potentially fatal wound for a project already struggling to stay on track. The total clawback of federal funds cast a long, ominous shadow over the project's future. Construction sites that had once symbolized hope and progress now stood eerily quiet, with equipment idle and workers uncertain about their next paycheck. The sense of loss was palpable, not just for the project, but for the promise it represented. The timing of the funding cut was seen as deeply political, escalating already simmering tensions between President Trump and California Governor Gavin Newsom. Newsom accused the administration of playing politics with the state's future, while Trump's supporters argued that California had failed to deliver on its promises. The dispute quickly became a national flashpoint, with both sides digging in. For thousands of workers, engineers, and state officials, the news was devastating. Projects were halted midstream, jobs were put at risk, and years of planning and effort seemed to hang in the balance. The mood on the ground shifted from optimism to uncertainty, as teams were forced to reassess what, if anything, could still be accomplished with the resources left. The dream of a bullet train linking Los Angeles and San Francisco, a vision that had once seemed within reach, now appeared to be slipping further away. With a massive, unexpected funding shortfall and no clear path forward, California's high-speed rail project faced its greatest challenge yet, leaving the future of high-speed rail in America hanging in the balance. The Trump administration justified its decision with a scathing critique of California's management. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy and the Federal Railroad Administration cited missed deadlines, budget overruns, and a lack of capacity to deliver the Central Valley segment by 2033. A June 2020 in Beijing, a federal report declared the project in default of its grant terms. The report accused the state of overstating ridership projections and failing to meet key milestones. Washington argued the project was fundamentally broken and unlikely to deliver on its promises. Duffy's team insisted they were protecting taxpayers from a runaway project. California, they said, had been given ample time to prove viability and failed. President Trump took to Truth Social to deliver his own verdict. He branded the project a Newsom scam, mocking Governor Newsom and calling the train a complete failure. Trump's posts declared the project severely overpriced, overregulated, and never delivered. He praised Secretary Duffy for halting the funding, framing it as a win for fiscal responsibility. The president's attacks turned the train into a symbol of California's excess and inefficiency, rallying his base. The catchy "news cum scam" label dominated headlines, reducing a complex project to a political feud. Governor Newsom's response was immediate, forceful, and left no room for doubt about his feelings. Standing before a crowd of reporters, his frustration was palpable as he addressed the sudden federal decision. The governor's tone was sharp, his words carefully chosen to convey both outrage and resolve. He didn't mince words, calling the funding cut petty political retribution. Newsom argued that this move was driven by personal animosity from Washington, not by any genuine concern for policy or public good. He accused federal officials of using California's ambitious rail project as a pawn in a much larger political game. Newsom went further, directly accusing President Trump of undermining American progress. He warned that by pulling support, the administration was effectively handing the future of high-speed rail to China, a country already far ahead in rail technology. The Central Valley, he said, was being abandoned in favor of political point scoring. The governor reframed the entire debate, insisting this was no longer just about a single project or a single state. Instead, he cast it as a fight for American innovation, jobs, and national pride. Newsom argued that investing in infrastructure was about building the future, not clinging to the past. Refusing to let the issue fade, Newsom took his message directly to the public. He fired back at Secretary Duffy and the administration on social media, rallying supporters and making it clear that California would not back down quietly. His posts quickly gained traction, sparking a wave of online debate and support. Behind the scenes, Newsom met with legal advisors to map out a strategy. He called the federal clawback not just unfair, but outright illegal, and promised to challenge it in court. The governor's legal team began preparing for what would likely be a lengthy and high-profile battle. All options are on the table, Newsom declared, signaling that California was prepared to use every tool at its disposal. The stage was set for a major legal showdown, one that would test the limits of state and federal power. The governor's defiant stance quickly turned the dispute into a broader battle over states' rights and the reach of federal authority. Protesters gathered, waving signs and demanding that California be allowed to chart its own course. As the dust settled, one thing was clear: California was ready to fight for its vision, its future, and the funding it believed it rightfully deserved. The project's financial realities are staggering. What began as an ambitious vision to revolutionize California's transportation has become a cautionary tale of spiraling costs and shifting timelines. Each year, the numbers grow more daunting, and the gap between aspiration and reality widens. Back in 2008, California voters were filled with hope as they approved the high-speed rail project. The promise was clear: a $33 billion investment would connect the state's major cities by 2020, ushering in a new era of fast, clean, and efficient travel. Ballots were cast, headlines celebrated the bold plan, and the public believed in a future where bullet trains would zip from Los Angeles to San Francisco in under 3 hours. But as the years passed, reality set in. Construction delays, legal battles, and rising material costs sent the budget soaring. Today, the estimated price tag has ballooned to as much as $135 billion, over 4 times the original figure. And instead of a statewide network, the current timeline only aims to complete the Central Valley segment by 2033, more than a decade behind schedule. On the ground, construction crews have made visible progress. Over 171 miles are under active development, and more than 50 major structures, bridges, viaducts, and guideways stand completed. Yet despite these achievements, not a single mile of track is operational. The infrastructure exists, but the trains and passengers it was built for remain absent. Instead, the project is a patchwork of disconnected rail segments and half-finished stations. Construction sites sit idle, waiting for funding or approvals, while empty platforms gather dust. The vision of a seamless, high-speed journey across California feels as remote as ever. The most challenging and expensive phases, like tunneling through the rugged mountains and building connections into dense, urban centers, haven't even begun. These segments will require unprecedented engineering feats and billions more in funding, with no clear timeline for when or if they'll start. As doubts grow, critics and federal officials question whether California can deliver on its revised promises. Congressional hearings and press conferences are filled with skepticism, and public confidence continues to erode with each missed milestone. The gap between what's been built and what's still needed is immense. Maps of the network show glaring holes with completed sections abruptly ending in the middle of nowhere. The dream of a connected California remains just that. A dream. As the sun sets on another year of delays and uncertainty, the vision of a statewide bullet train slips further from reach. For now, California's high-speed rail remains a distant dream, unfinished, over budget, and waiting for a future that seems more uncertain than ever. California quickly escalated the fight to the courts, suing the Trump administration over the funding withdrawal. The state argued the move was unlawful and politically motivated, violating grant agreements. While the lawsuit plays out, officials scramble to keep the project alive. The High-Speed Rail Authority has enough funds for about 2 more years of work. Lawmakers now face tough choices: find $1 billion a year to keep building, or risk abandoning the project. Every dollar would come at the expense of other state priorities, fueling a fierce budget battle. Without federal partnership, California faces daunting financial and political obstacles. This isn't the first time California's bullet train has been a political football. The project began in 2008 with a voter-approved bond and early federal support. The first major clash came in 2019 when Trump tried to revoke $929 million. California sued. Biden's administration restored the funds in 2021, briefly stabilizing the project, but costs kept rising and timelines kept slipping, leaving the project vulnerable. The 2024 election and Trump's return brought renewed uncertainty. The project's fate has always depended as much on politics as engineering. Each administration's stance has swung the project's fortunes wildly. Political volatility remains one of the project's greatest obstacles. The rail project is more than infrastructure. It's a proxy in America's political and cultural divide. For Newsom, it's a symbol of green ambition and economic growth. For Trump, it's government waste and overreach. The project's high profile makes it a perfect target in the ongoing red vs. blue battle. The rivalry between Trump and Newsom fuels the conflict, turning every dispute into a high-stakes showdown. Federal threats to withhold other funds show the breadth of the confrontation. The project is just the latest and most expensive battleground in a much larger war. California's bullet train is caught in the crossfire of a divided nation. As of December 2025, the future of California's high-speed rail is more uncertain than ever. The loss of federal funding has left a massive gap with no clear solution. Construction continues for now, but the project is on borrowed time. The state's lawsuit is a long shot. Finding billions in new state funds will be politically painful. The project's fate may hinge on future elections and shifting federal priorities. For now, the partially built viaducts stand as monuments to both ambition and vulnerability. Will the bullet train become a model for modern infrastructure, or a cautionary tale of political hubris? California's grand vision hangs in the balance, its future undecided.